Hello everybody and welcome back to the show. And in this episode, I want to start looking at the Ender.io mod. Well, not really looking at it. There's a few things I want to make out of the Ender.io mod. That's maybe the better way to say that. Now, if you're not already familiar with the Ender.io mod, it is a technology-based mod and it operates on the redstone flux or RF power system. So there are generators which will create RF power. There is machinery which will use the RF power for various things. And then you have a capacitor bank, which is the storage of RF power for the mod. Now, because this mod pack is based on GregTech, as you can see from all this machinery here, a lot of things in Ender.io are also made in or with GregTech. So for example, let's take a look at one of these basic capacitors. This capacitor is made in the assembler and it requires a battery, 4 gold, and this is equivalent to 2 pieces of redstone, and that's how you make your basic capacitor. And the basic capacitor is the core of these machine chassis, which are the core of most of the machinery. So you basically have to already have a GregTech setup in order to even start making any of the Ender.io machinery. Now, and then let's see, something like this solarium, for example, which is a special type of an ingot. It's made in an alloy smelter with gold and soul sand. So if you are familiar with the Ender.io mod, you would actually normally use the Ender.io alloy smelter, which is, where's it at? Well, it's here somewhere. There's an alloy smelter in Ender.io, and you use that to make the solarium. It's entirely possible that it has been disabled in this mod pack because the idea is to use GregTech for more things, not less things. So that's maybe why I can't find it there. Let me try searching under alloy smelter. Yeah, I don't even see it there. So it's probably been disabled, and that's fine. But you make the solarium in the GregTech alloy smelter, and then again, the solarium is used in various recipes for other things in the Ender.io mod. Now, all that being said, there are some things in Ender.io that don't have an equivalent, if you will, in GregTech. And one of those, which I wanted to start off with making, is the slice and splice. And the slice and splice is basically used to create special kinds of, well, I don't know, I call them heads because, you know, like this zombie electrode is made in the slice and splice, and this is Z logic controller and these things here, and they are used to make other pieces of stuff in the Ender.io mod. So I made a slice and splice, and in doing some other stuff, I accidentally set this down next to a GregTech cable. So for here, I have, for example, a silver cable. And if I put this down, you will see that it's gaining RF power. And it's gaining it from that silver GregTech cable back there. So, whoops, wrong thing. So that was kind of interesting because it did mean that essentially the GregTech EU is converting directly into RF power. And that's actually pretty cool because it means I don't have to make anything that generates RF power. Now, it doesn't go the other way around. I can't take RF power and turn it into EU power. Well, not directly. There's ways to do it, but they're sort of they involve using other mods, and they involve just sort of sneaky type stuff, which if I need to do it, I will, but I'd rather not because it's just not, you know, not the way it's supposed to be done. But this is the capacitor bank, as I said, and again, I can put this next to a GregTech cable and it will start filling up with RF power. So pretty cool that I can store RF power if I want to as well. Now, again, I don't know if I would ever actually need to do that. So now, knowing that I can actually use GregTech EU power directly with into an RF machine, the next question that I had was whether or not the different tiers of voltages for GregTech, the high tech or the high voltage, the medium voltage, and low voltage, would have any discernible effect. And so that's what I want to test. So first thing I'm going to do here is I'm going to test what happens. So I've got a high voltage battery buffer and a medium voltage battery buffer and a low voltage battery buffer. And I will put, I'm starting off with full batteries. I'll put the large one in there, the medium one in there, and the small one in there. Now, of course, remember that the battery buffer itself holds a little bit of EU. So there's a little bit of drainage from each one of these batteries. That's okay. I think that's workable. And then I have 3 empty capacitor banks, and I'm going to set all of those down like so. And so now each one of these capacitor banks should start filling up with power, I hope. Well, that one has started. That's good. And that one is going, and that's also good. Now, we can already see one difference. You can see this shows 110 roughly RF per tick going in, and this one is showing about 460 RF per tick going in. So obviously the different tiers of voltages are going to affect the speed at which the capacitor banks fill up. Now this one hasn't started yet, and I don't know why that would be. The battery is there. Let me try making sure that the output is set to this direction. I'm not getting anything out of that. That's interesting. High voltage battery buffer, large lithium battery. Okay. Let's go ahead and look at what's going on here. This is still filling up. This battery is still draining down. This battery is still draining down. And this one hasn't started. Very peculiar. Now, I wonder if that's because it's the input, what would be coming out of the high voltage battery would be more than the 1000. That could be because this is showing 110 and this battery voltage battery is emitting at 32 EU per tick. So that's roughly times 3, a little bit more than that. This one was coming in at 440 and this would be going out at 128. So again, somewhere at a multiplier of times 3. So it's entirely possible that this one, which is 512 times 3, would be more than 1000 RF, and that is more than what the capacitor bank could take in. So I'm going to look at that in just a minute. I bet you that that's what the case is, but there's nothing I can do about it right now. Now this one is done. This one is still filling because this battery is going. So I started off with 100,000 EU in this small lithium battery, and now that it's all empty, I end up with 326,000 RF. So roughly, call it 3.25 times as much power. So now this filled up to 999,580. And so if I say 999,580 and divide it by 3.25, I should have used about 307,000 EU, and that's about right. If I said 307, it's 307,500 plus 97,490, I get 405. So seems to be roughly correct. So I would say that there's no difference between using the different tiers from that. Now, what can I do here? Well, if I add multiple capacitor banks to this, it will take in more power. So let's take this off, like so. And can I do this and erase? No, I can't. Okay. Well, it's going to be a little confusing because there's already some power in here, but that's fine. Let's go ahead and stick this on top, and we can see, yeah, see it's filling, now it's filling up. You can see that the RF is 1800 RF per tick. So 512 EU times 3.25, I get 1664. So I wonder if there is an appreciable difference between the tiers. There might be a slight difference. 1800 divided by 512 is 3.5. So if there is a difference between the low voltage, medium voltage, and high voltage, it's not by very much. And it may just be a factor of the efficiency sense of the large batteries versus smaller batteries, etc., etc. So, very interesting, but I would argue that, at least on the surface of things, it does not appear that there is a significant difference between using these various voltages. So it doesn't matter what kind of voltage I use. The only thing that I would have to be aware of is that if I want to use the high voltage power, it may result in, I would have to make sure that the input side of whatever I'm using could handle 3.5 times that amount. So I wanted to run that little experiment and see how it worked and see how things worked as far as this interaction between GregTech and the RF powers and capacitor banks. So that's enough of that for now. But one, again, key component I have is that it means that I can use GregTech power to power my RF machines. I don't need these capacitor banks, for example. I'm using them to find out how well this stuff interacts and for running this test, but I won't actually need them. So the next thing I need to do is look at what I want to make in Ender.io, and what I want to make is the dimensional transceiver. I think this is going to help make things easier for me in a lot of the stuff that I am doing. So the dimensional transceiver is, where are you at? Let's just do a search. Dimensional transceiver is here. Now, the dimensional transceiver is made with this Ender resonator, and that is what is made in the slice and splice. And you can see here a couple of silicon plates, some of that solarium, an Enderman head. Ooh, I don't know if I have any Enderman head. I might have a few. Oh man. I don't think I have any Enderman heads. Ooh, that's bad. That means I have to go out hunting Enderman. And when does anybody ever really want to hunt Enderman? Yikes. Okay, I will have to work on getting Enderman heads, so I'll do that. This Ender crystal, which is made in a soul binder. So I have to make a soul binder machine, and it also involves capturing Enderman. I'm starting to see a pattern here. I'm going to need a lot of Enderman, and that can be very difficult. So I think what I'm going to do is I am going to do the same thing I did in a previous series, and I think that I will make the a mob spawner if I can. Let's see if it's still here in the Ender.io. Let's see. Here it is, the powered spawner. And so it will require a machine chassis, the Franken-Zombie. That's something that's made in the slice and splice, as I was mentioning. Some electrical steel and these vibrant crystals. Now the vibrant crystals are made in an autoclave. They're actually fairly simple. One piece of emerald dust, which is easy, and some molten vibrant alloy. Vibrant alloy is simply, where is it at? An alloy smelter of ender pearl with energetic alloy, and energetic alloys are simply glaze powder and gold ingots. And those are all made in GregTech machines. So that's actually pretty easy to accomplish. So I think what I'll do is I want to make the powered spawner, have it work on, have it set for Enderman. That way I can start farming Enderman for not only Ender Pearls and Enderman heads, which I'll need for the other stuff, But I guess I could also use it for experience points if I need them, for levels. I don't know why I would need them, but there you go. So I am going to start working on making this stuff and show it to you when I'm done. Okay, so I've run into a little bit of a stumbling block that I would mention that. Electrical steel is an important component for a lot of stuff in the Ender IO mod, but it turns out that electrical steel has to be made in the blast furnace. It's a combination of steel and silicon. Now the heat capacity part, 1000 Kelvin, I'm okay there, because that means it could be made with the lowest tier heat casings, and I am now at the middle tier heat casing. But this is the bad part here, 480 EU per tick, which means would require at least high voltage power. And so far, everything has only required medium voltage power that I've been doing up to this point. But now that recipe, that's the electrical steel, requires that high voltage power. So I need to convert this electric blast furnace so that it will use high voltage power. So right now it has a medium voltage energy hatch. So what I need to do is I need to make a high voltage energy hatch. And that's actually fairly simple. I have some electrical steel that I found in Dungeon Loot, but we're going to take 8 pieces of stainless steel and turn those into stainless steel plates. And I should have looked it up here, HV energy hatch, like so. And I think these use gold cables. Yes. So we'll go grab 2 pieces of gold out of there, and we cook those into ingots, like so. And then now we have 8 stainless steel plates. Put those right there for now. We'll take our 2 gold ingots, run them through the wire mill, and that will end up giving me 4 gold wires. I can go over here and grab some rubber sheets, and I only need 3 of them. We can take out the gold wire, and we can put those with the rubber sheets to give us 3 gold cables. Excellent. And then it's just a matter of using our wrench on the stainless steel plates to give us the high voltage machine casing. Good. Put 2 wires on either side, 2 of the gold cables on either side of that, and that will give us the high voltage machine hull. And then 1 more gold cable will give us the high voltage energy hatch. And so now I can swap out the energy hatch. I can just take this one out like so and put that one in and have it face outward like that. Now I just have to rewire everything, and that'll be the part that takes some time and is obviously not going to be too terribly interesting, but I need to run it with cabling to give it high voltage power. I need to make a machine called the Soul Binder in Ender IO. The problem is that making this machine requires having an Enderman head, and I don't have any of those yet. So I went and made myself a diamond sword, and I put looting 2 on it, and then I went out killing Endermen, and I still didn't get any Enderman heads. And then it occurred to me that I was doing things wrong. Very, very, very wrong. What I need to make is the Ender, which is the sword made from dark steel in Ender IO. And the reason I want to make this is, and you probably can't see that because of how it's blocked there, but you should be able to see there where it says increased skull and ender pearl drops. Also, Endermen can't teleport when they're hit. That's actually fairly nice as well. It means that you can kind of wail on them without them teleporting away from you. But the increased skull drops is the key thing, I think, for me. Now, making an ender requires 2 of the dark steel plates. And the dark steel ingots are made in the blast furnace. I don't think I can make them in an alloy smelter. Let's check real quick. No, we got to make it in the blast furnace. That's fine. 1 piece of electrical steel, 1 piece of obsidian dust. I already talked about the electrical steel. The obsidian dust is easy. It's just from macerating obsidian. Pretty simple. Now you'll see that this requires 2000 Kelvin, which would mean I would require the second tier of heat casings for my electric blast furnace. So it's a good thing I made those, almost as if I planned it, but hey, whatever. So I can make a couple of these and make a sword called the Ender. And let's see, dark steel plates. I think these have to be down here with a stick. Maybe on the other side. There we go. And that gives me the Ender. Perfect. Now, with the Ender IO tools, the sword, and the armor, you can increase their power through upgrading it in an anvil. And you can see there it says anvil upgrades. It tells you what you can do at this point. So right now what I could do is I can empower the Ender by using a vibrant crystal and 10 levels. Now I don't have to do that. As it stands, the Ender has 6 attack damage and increased skull and Ender pearl drops. But I went ahead and got 10 levels, and I also went ahead and made a vibrant crystal. It's right there. So you put that in just as it's described in the text there, and then you can see that that will give me the Ender with being empowered. And so I'm going to take it out. And so now if we look at it, you will see it's got a lot more information. For one, it stores RF power. You can see it's 0 out of 100,000 RF. The increased skull and Ender pearl drops is still there, but now is also added that Enderman cannot teleport once hit, and there is +2 damage when it is powered. Then you can see it's got the empowered. That's the ability to have. That means that it can store up to 100,000 RF of power, and if it takes any damage, 50% of that damage is absorbed by the power instead of by the durability of the sword. And now if you look at the anvil upgrades, I have 2 options I can do. I can do empowered 2, which requires a basic capacitor and 10 levels, or I could give it the travel ability, which is an Ender crystal and 30 levels. So pretty basic and easy system. I like how it's all well described in here too, so that's nice. What I need to do is I need to power it up with RF power, and what I want to find out is, what if I threw it into just a regular GregTech machine? Nope, that's not giving it any power. What if I put it into a battery buffer? And no, that's not giving it any power. All right. What if I stand on my charging thing here? I don't expect this to work, by the way. Not a problem. I still have those capacitor banks. Where did here's one right here. So I am going to, well, for now, I'm just going to put it over here like that. And I'll go ahead and put my Ender sword in there and let it charge up. And there you can see that it's charging up to 100,000 RF. Okay, so now with this, I should have a better chance of getting some Enderman skulls. And as soon as it becomes nighttime, I will work on that.
Huh? Huh.
It took forever to finally get an Enderman head. I ended up actually getting 2 of them. The key, I think, was adding looting to my sword here. So even though it already had an increased chance for getting skulls, adding the looting, I think, is what may have put it over the edge. So I can finally make the soul binder, and I don't remember what order these heads are supposed to go in. Silly thing. Zombie, skeleton, creeper. I only got those 2 backwards. Okay, so now I have soul binder. Great. And now with that and the slice and splice, whoops. It, like that, there we go. And that should receive power. Yes, excellent. And this has got power, great, excellent. So, with those 2, I should now be able to start working towards making a automatic spawner for Enderman, which will make hopefully collecting Enderman stuff even easier. But I think that is going to do it for this episode. Didn't get as much done as I wanted to have accomplished, but things took a lot longer and more effort than I had even thought that they would. But it's on a start towards working down the Ender IO way, and honestly, oops, wrong button. Honestly, this the Ender IO sword reminded me of just how great the Ender IO weapons and armor are. You can see I've already made a pair of dark leggings and empowered it. And in fact, I'm working on making some more dark steel ingots so I can make the rest of that armor, because it is really, really good armor when you have it fully kitted out. But again, that's going to do it for this episode. As always, I really do appreciate you joining me and all of your support. If you have any questions or comments, or if you would just like to say hi, please leave them for me in the comment section down below. I will see you in the next episode.